Welcome to the Pharsyde YouTube channel. Today we are launching a new playlist that I am very excited about. And to introduce it to you, I am chatting to Graham Stephen of Bizval. Graham is a chartered accountant registered in South Africa with over 2 decades of experience in financial services, helping businesses of all sizes, from startup to big to small, and across multiple countries as well. And in all his years of solving challenges for businesses, what Graham was most frustrated by was the fact that the services these companies need are complex and expensive. So he set out to solve this challenge by co-founding Bizval. And when he's not busy with Bizval or solving business challenges, you can find Graham behind a racing simulator, practicing to return to motorsport. And as much as I want to chat about that today, what we're going to be chatting about instead is why Graham is so passionate about business valuation and the difference that that makes to a business owner. So welcome, Graham. Thank you for joining me, and thank you so much for agreeing to this new insert on the Pharsyde channel. I'm very excited.
Great, thanks, Tamron, and thanks for hosting us. It's always a pleasure to engage with you and your channel, and really looking forward to the chat today.
I am really looking forward to this new series because the value of a business is something that business owners don't think about that much, to be honest. We're so focused on just getting the business going and keeping it running that very few business owners, at least small business owners, pay much attention to what the business is worth until they think that they want to sell it. So I think this is a very important topic.
Tamron, you're spot on, and I think, I think you always say go back to your past to kind of find out why you're passionate about something. And, I look back to my past, and my dad, unfortunately, was retrenched in his early 40s. Probably for the last 30 years has been what I call self-employed, so he was a business person in the days when it wasn't cool to be an entrepreneur. But he had the kind of business, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with that, which was really just to put food on the table and make ends meet. He never had a mindset of wanting to build something of value. When you're building a business, you have to make that choice. Do you want to be what's self-employed or freelancer or whatever? And for a lot of people, that's absolutely fantastic. That's absolutely great. But there's the other side of the coin where you're saying you actually want to build something that, at a point in time will either allow you to exit, take a bit of a step back, and create something of value that actually can exist outside of you having to do all the work. And I think given my background, and upbringing, I wanted that. I see how hard it gets for my dad now when he's sort of in his early 70s. Okay. Still having to climb up on ladders and fix things and all of that sort of thing to eke out a living. And I'm passionate about showing people how you can move beyond that into building something. And that's what Bizval was all about. It was a desire to go and make it accessible for business owners. We don't want to talk to people in language and jargon that they don't understand. As accountants, often it's easy to talk about IFRS this and GAAP that and DCF this, and we kind of all think we know what we're talking about. But the reality is, when you're talking to people, speak to them in a language that they understand. And Bizval, was an attempt to address that. Business valuations historically, have been inaccessible. You go to your professional and they help you with that. But half the time, it doesn't really kind of meet the entrepreneur. So yeah, a long answer to, I guess, a short question is, why Bizval? Yeah, part of my upbringing, part of what I experienced in the working world, and a real desire to want to be able to see people create something of value that they can enjoy and share and take to the world.
That's awesome. I really love that. And I love the fact that it comes from something so personal, as seeing your dad, grow old and not have a plan for all of his hard work,
Yeah.
Because I think that happens so much in small businesses. You see business owners working so hard, and particularly in the trades and in professions. They work so hard, thinking that they're doing, something for their family, something for the future. And if they haven't set things up correctly, if they're not focusing on value, they get a really unpleasant shock when it comes to retirement or just wanting to sell or step down and do something different, and they discover that 10 years of hard work isn't worth as much as they thought it was. And it can
Yeah, I
be
mean,
really soul destroying.
yeah, I mean, you're spot on, and I think anybody has had their own business or been self-employed. It is hard work, and there's a lot of blood, sweat, and tears, and there's a lot of emotion that goes into building a business. And you're absolutely right. Hard work doesn't necessarily equate to value, though. There's a lot of other lessons in it that come out of hard work, and building, let's call it a business of value, is as much hard work as not. But hopefully down the line, there's some sort of reward that comes from that. I'll give a very key example. Accounting practice is a very good example. Often people build accounting practices, but they have a CA in the business. Same with law firms. They have a lawyer in the business. Then when they step out, they have a bunch of clerks or people underneath them, but no one who can actually run the business anymore. And a simple thing we talk about is just planning for that succession. We speak to a lot of business owners in, let's call it, the services industry. And you say to them, listen, you need to pay 50, 60, 70,000 Rand a month to have a young CA in who can come and learn the ropes and take over from you. And they think, well, why? That's going to eat into my holiday and pledge money or whatever. It's an extra cost to me. But then when they get to the point they realize if they don't do that, they're actually putting potentially their pension at risk. And their pension is, the sale of their shares in the business, or even staying as a silent shareholder, but being able to take a step back and have somebody else run the business, and so that you can slow down. And I think getting to that point of realization as a business owner, we kind of all know this in the back of our minds, but until somebody puts the sort of cold hard facts in front of you, it's often very difficult to understand that. And with BizVal, we try to do that. We try to take the emotion out of it. I mean, that's also a key thing, is that we all think that what we're building is worth more than it is. Okay, we look social media, everybody looks and they see the Mark Zuckerbergs of the world, the Elon Musk of the world, and think, I want to be a rock star CEO. The reality is a lot less sexy than that, to be honest. 90% of business owners, successful businesses, you don't even know about. They're operating in the background. Okay, it's an iceberg principle. You don't realize that 90% of the iceberg sits underwater, and the 10% that's seen, okay, is what somebody is going to buy. Okay, but they're buying all that year's experience. But unfortunately, often that doesn't have a lot of value in and of itself. And what we're all trying to do is to help people understand how do you build that more effectively, so that the value on the top is actually the 10x, and what sits underneath is the smaller piece.
Yes, yes. I love that. I love that analogy of the iceberg, because I think it's so true. This is a very personal thing for me, actually. Like you've seen it with your dad, but this happened to me personally, because I went through some very bad burnouts building my business, like many business owners do, because they just keep pushing and pushing and pushing, and then you suddenly reach this point where you can't push anymore. And as part of that, one of the things that happens in burnouts is you tend to lose your passion for what you're doing. You lose sight of why you opened this business in the first place. And I did. And I'd lost sight of my passion, and I was just over it. And I thought, you know what I'm going to do? I'm just going to sell. I'm going to sell, and I'm going to do something new. And I went to a business with a broker, and I gave him all the information, and he came back with this figure that just made me cry. It literally just made me cry. I was like, I have put years of blood, sweat, and tears into this business. Years, to the point that I've affected my own mental health, and at that point, my own physical health. And the business wasn't worth anywhere near the effort that I had put into it. So this is very real for me, and this is why I'm so excited to have this insert on this channel, to encourage people to start looking at their business differently, and to start building a real business that has value outside of themselves.
And I think, sorry to interrupt you, Tamara.
No, go.
Yeah, I'm saying, I think a lot of that is as well. Sometimes it takes somebody from the outside to kind of help you look in to see that. You'll know by now I love using analogies. Somebody once used an analogy with me when I was going through a particularly difficult period, and they said, when you're in a situation like that, you're in the fire, okay? And when you're in the fire, all you feel is the heat. But what you don't know when you're in the fire is it could just be a little small braai, or you could be in the middle of a raging forest. It all feels the same. But when you take a step back, okay, you actually kind of see, oh, well, listen, if you just took 3 steps to the right, you'd be outside of the fire and you can jump into the swimming pool and all is good kind of thing. So it's the same with building a business is you need often somebody, whether it's your accountant, whether it's a business partner, whether it's a friend, who can actually give you that sense of perspective to say, hey, this is where you're at. This is where you're at in your journey. And that's part of what drives us, whether it's business valuation, whether it's accounting services, whether it's other sort of business advice. I think we all share in that sort of common desire to help people not experience the pain that we've had in the past. Are they going to experience pain? Absolutely. That goes without saying. When you're building a business, there's always going to be the unexpected. But having a person or people in your corner who can say, listen, hey, just see this from the perspective that it really is. Have you thought about this? Is so powerful. That's not about business valuations. That's just about people. And I think I think that's why we love collaborating with you as well, because I think we share that philosophy around helping people to achieve. And I don't want to sound like another TED talk. It's really not a TED motivational talk, but it's so true. And nobody tells you this stuff. This is not the stuff you learn at school. This is not the stuff that you kind of learn when you go to university. This is stuff that you learn through the hard knocks of life. And that's what we're passionate about addressing.
I love it. So I'm so excited, Graham, and thank you so much for agreeing to do this insert for Pharsyde. So I think the last thing I want to ask you before we close off actually is what is it that you want viewers to gain from watching this series of videos?
Okay, so I think for us, the series that's coming ahead, we'd really like to sort of demystify. I think we did a webinar a while back on the sort of art and science of valuations. But we want to demystify what it means, one, to kind of value your business. Okay? We want to kind of unpack why it's important that you understand that. We're going to unpack, what are some of the drivers or the levers that you can pull to make sure that you're building something of value as opposed to just working harder. And I think we'd also like to leave, listeners and viewers with sort of tangible, practical advice that they can actually go and apply straight away. I think advice and insight is only relevant if it's usable. And I think, I'd really like, viewers to take that out. I'd also like to kind of open the door for engagement, so as much as YouTube often is sort of a one-way street, we want to open the door and say, if you've listened to something in the series, drop Tamara or I a direct message or an email or connect via one of our channels. If you've got a question, ask. As much as business nowadays is driven by all the buzz is AI and technology and all of that, I think it's so important to have a human face. And that's why we're doing the series. Is that, yes, there's the theory of valuations, how you build, but we want business owners to realize that they're not alone. There's people like them, on a slightly different path, but wanting to help them in their journey. So, hopefully, Tamron, that kind of resonates with the listeners, and we'd invite you to join us in the series. We'd be delighted to have your company.
That is fantastic. Thank you so much, Graham. I believe it will resonate. And if you're watching right now, then details on how to contact Graham and myself are below the video. So you can reach out and they will continue to show up below every video in the series. So at any point in time, if you feel that you need some help or some guidance with building value into your business, you know who you can reach to, and we will be there to help you. Graham, thank you so much again. First of all, for doing the series, and secondly, for doing the interview today to introduce yourself to our viewers, and I hope you enjoyed it.
Great. Thanks, Tamara. We look forward to the series.